Joining us now for more on this is Congressman Ro Khanna. He's a Democrat who represents California's 17th district. Congressman, good to have you with us. So this is the first State of the Union President Biden is delivering to a Republican-controlled House. We have already witnessed how it has changed the tenor of your chamber to have that shift in power. How might that change how President Biden delivers the State of the Union?
I think people want a message that's going to unify Americans. You know, I was just back in my district. We did a mental health town hall for Asian Americans after the two awful shootings. And people are hungry for us to come together as a country. I hope and believe President Biden will have that as a core theme.
You know, a lot of Americans will be watching tonight from their own unique economic perspective. They've been dealing with inflation. They've been dealing with increased prices. A lot of folks have been laid off from their job despite the general unemployment numbers lowering. How then do you think Americans might perceive a government that can't agree on how to budget its money, right? We're only a few months away from that happening. How optimistic are you, Congressman, that you'll be able to work with Republicans and reach an agreement on the debt ceiling before summer?
Well, there's no agreement to reach. We should pay our debts. So we paid our debts under President Trump. We need to pay our debts under President Biden. This is just common sense. But I think the president tonight has to acknowledge the anxiety that's still out there. I mean, there are layoffs in my district in Silicon Valley. The price of eggs and bacon are still high. And I think what the president has to say is we've started bringing good jobs back. We've started bringing manufacturing back. We're trying to reverse 40 years of economic policy. But there's a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Let's talk about immigration reform, one of the topics that's likely going to be in the president's speech tonight. For our viewers, just so that they know, you have said that you agree with Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch's ruling against the Title 42 policy. What are you looking to hear from the president about the situation at the southern border and how much that impacts the country and specifically California?
I hope the president will give a message of common sense. Most Americans believe we need a secure border, and he should start with that. But to have a secure border, we also need to have our funding of the asylum process. The reason we have such backlog is we don't have enough people to process the asylum claims. And then I also hope he will speak to the DACA kids. I had someone in my office just this morning who's on DACA, and he said every 2 years he has to fill out an application. It costs $500. That's no way to treat DACA kids in this country. We need to finally fix their status to make them Americans.
Do you think that can happen with a Republican-controlled House?
I do. I mean, look, these are kids who've been in this country from the age of 2 to 3. They're going off into college or they're in the workforce. And every 2 years, we're making them fill out an application and pay $500 to stay in America. Think about what we're doing to them. They're staying in America, but they're not becoming American. They're not going to be able to run for Congress, be in the city council. We're alienating them. That's not good for this nation. I hope we can make progress, at least on that issue.
I just want to button up where we began on funding and how to spend money. You said, look, we all need to balance our budgets. Both you and Republican Senator Marco Rubio are pushing for more federal funding for U.S.-based manufacturing, which sounds all well and good. But we have we've got inflation, we've got recession concerns. And so my question to you is, if the president prioritizes this issue in particular, where then should money be subtracted from in order to make this a priority, U.S.-based manufacturing?
Well, this is the way we need to be solving inflation. The reason we have inflation is because of supply chain crisis. We didn't make enough semiconductors in this country. We didn't make masks. We didn't make Tylenol. We had to import it with high shipping costs. Production, renewing Americans' manufacturing would lower inflation, and it will create more jobs to deal with the recession. It's the single biggest thing we should be doing. So I would prioritize what Senator Rubio and I are talking about to renew American production, increase our productivity is the best thing for the economy. We can make certain cuts in our defense budget that's reaching $1 trillion, and we can increase taxes on the very wealthy to make sure that the deficit is reduced.
Congressman, there's been a lot of talk about whether President Biden is going to announce his pursuit of the White House again following this speech. Do you want to see any other Democrats try and put their hats into the ring?
No, I don't. This president has had an incredibly successful 2 years. Unemployment is at a record low. He's helping bring back manufacturing. Now, I don't want to dismiss the anxieties of the American people. He's had 2 years, and we're trying to overcome policies for 40, 50 years that have shipped jobs offshore. So there's more work to be done. But the best person to be the quarterback, to be our captain, is President Biden. And I hope the party will quickly coalesce around him.
All right. Well, it's great to chat with you. We'll be looking for you in the crowd at tonight's address, representing Silicon Valley, Congressman Ro Khanna. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Stay with CBS News for the State of the Union address and the Republican response. Our coverage starts tonight at 5 Eastern with a special edition of Red and Blue. You can stream it on the CBS News app and Paramount Plus, as well as CBSNews.com.